I'm Mama, and we are live on Substack, and the cafe is open. So pull up your comfy chair or your beanbag, grab your milky drink or your adult beverage or your fizzy pop or your soda, whatever you folk call it. Wrap yourself in your big snuggly blanket and get comfortable because it is time for another Mama's meeting. So welcome all the new Mama Seaters and welcome back everyone who's been here before. I'm in London and we have with us tonight Summer in Canada, just outside Toronto, I believe.
Yeah.
And I will be covering the US angle. Yes, I'm doing this at midnight, Ellen, but you are very welcome because, it would be a bit of a rubbish midnight cafe if I did it in the middle of the day, wouldn't it, right? So you're all very, very, very welcome. And I'm going to cover Laura's patch, which is the US, which I never mind doing because it is such rich fodder. And Summer will let us all know what's going on in Canada. And I will also share a little bit of the UK nonsense because even though we might look like we've got grown-ups in the building, the kids are still causing a stink. So I will kick us off. Is everybody ready? Good. It's a rhetorical question. I'm going to carry on whether you are or not. You know me. Hey, Chris. Chris is here. Good. We can start. And Amy, our unofficial administrator, who is completely unpaid but much loved, is in the house so she can keep us straight. But she doesn't have to keep us so straight because Glenn's got a few days off. But I've got a little legal thing. So I'm going to jump back on after we've finished as Glenn, not actually as Glenn, as unofficially as Glenn, to keep you up to speed with the legal wranglings in the US so that Glenn doesn't have 4 days worth to catch up on. And fingers crossed, he might see it and he might think, oh, okay, I can have a couple of days off. They will cope without me. It's a long shot, but we're going to give it a go. So thank you. I think it was Gordon and a couple of others who suggested that we keep the seat warm for Glenn, and we are very, very happy to do that because that's how we found each other. Oh, Amy's got a storm coming. That's very exciting. We have had 27 seasons in one day here in the UK, and it's been absolutely hilarious watching threads because the complaints to our Met Office about the weather is hilarious to the point where the Met Office actually put out a post on Threads saying, just FYI, we predict the weather, we don't create it, which I thought was very, very clarifying. Now we all know where we stand.
And professional.
Yes,
And
it is
professional.
not the Met Office's fault. They probably told us we were going to have 27 different types of weather in one day. Unfortunately, there are no refunds. It's buyer beware. So, hey, thank you, Laura Not Luma. So Laura Not Luma is going to take notes if Amy has to go chase storms. So we've got this covered. Shall we begin? So I think because I'd like to get it out the way quickly because I'm a little bit annoyed and a little bit frustrated and a little bit embarrassed because our politicians here in the UK have decided they've been doing the grown-uppy thing long enough and now it's time to throw their toys out of the pram. And I really can do without it because how can I be expected to keep an eye on what's going on over there if this lot are messing around? Just can't do it. One little brain, it focuses on one thing at a time, and if something shiny flies in front of me, that's it. I'm gone. So. What was going on here? Well, we had some local elections, and that's hilarious because the chatter going on around the local elections from the very right. Apparently, I can't call them far right because that's offensive to Nazis and fascists or something. I forget. I apologize. If I've offended anybody who votes for reform, fuck you. I meant to. Just get that out there. But yes, it's been hilarious because all the Reform supporters have been like, "Yeah, get Starmer out. Yeah, Farage for PM." I'm like, "You've never voted in a local election before, have you? You've really not got the hang of that, how this works. These are the people who are going to figure out how often your bins get collected." Okay. Anywho, so Reform did have a big week. Credit where credit's due. On paper, they swept up lots of council seats as expected. And this is, I don't know quite how it works in the US and Canada, but in the UK, um, we often go crazy, go a little bit rogue, go a little bit off script when it comes to local elections. We kind of test the waters, whereas we all go back to where we're supposed to be for a general election because nobody wants to rock the boat too much. So we weren't surprised to see a lot of seats changing hands, and Labour did have the most to lose. So it's okay. We were expecting it. Reform themselves and their acolytes are crowing with their fabulous successes, and Farage is doing his victorious frog face all over the media, so that's lovely for him. But here's the thing about handing local power to Reform, and I'm not going to say I told you so, but we tried to warn you. Local power means local consequences. All right. So if your bins don't get picked up, you know whose fault it is. It means planning, it means roads, it means social care, and yes, it means bins. Your actual rubbish bins. And whether they get collected at all. The ones outside your actual house, in your actual street, because when ideology meets wheelie bin, suddenly it's not quite so abstract, and your vote means a little bit more than maybe you thought it did. It's a little bit more than saying, "Up you, Johnny Foreigner." Anywho, we didn't have to wait long to see how successful this wonderful wave of teal, that's Reform's colours, by the way, landed. So within days of the election results, at least 4 newly elected Reform councillors had already been suspended, expelled, or resigned their seats altogether. That's within days. This only happened a week ago, and already 4 have gone. And oh my God, one of the ones that they've kept, he's still posting about the Great Replacement theory. So he's a peach. You know, that's who they've kept. The guy preaching about the Great Replacement theory is still in his seat. But some of the others were so bad, and by so bad, you have to assume worse than preaching about the Great Replacement theory, because he's still there, that they've gone already. So, Stuart Pryor is one. He managed to get himself elected to not 1 but 2 councils in Essex. I'm not making this up. And then he resigned from both within the week after his party membership was revoked over allegations of racist and Islamophobic social media posts. I know. Elon told you that you're all allowed to say what you like now. He may have forgotten to mention consequences. Okay, so you might want to bear that in mind next time you're inciting racial violence or anything along those lines. 2 councils, 1 week, are gone. Then there's Benroe in Plymouth. Lovely coastal town. Suspended after posts emerged, including one depicting a bomb being dropped on Mecca. I am so sorry for any offence that me describing these people is causing, because I appreciate that it might, but I want you to know who these people are. So apologies if it is causing anyone offence. Then we have Worcestershire. Let's go up to that's more sort of Midlandsy. I don't know where Worcestershire is. It's Middle-ish. Let's go with middle. We've got Joe and Ashley Monk, a family affair, a mother and son double act, both suspended. It does run in the family, I guess. One was suspended for bringing the party into disrepute, and the other one was suspended for refusing to accept a democratic decision of the reform group. So obviously, one's the big stinky racist, and the other one's like, "You can't do that, that's my mum," or "You can't do that, that's my son." And apparently they're both gone. They couldn't even agree with their own party. And this,
Hmm.
Mamacitas, is Zia Yusuf, one of the senior members of the party's, quote, best vetting system in the country. But they missed these few. I'm sure they're just the rotten apples and the barrel is fine.
Really?
One analyst is already predicting 3 to 4 reform departures per week moving forwards. So watch this space. This story is not over. And who knows whether your bins will get emptied or not? Not you all, because most of you are the other side of the Atlantic, but the people who made interesting choices. I don't want to say bad things about these people. I do not want to question their integrity or their intellect, but I do want to say their choices are questionable and there will be consequences. That is not a threat. That's just what happens. Anyhow.
But okay.
Hmm.
That's what should happen.
Hmm. Yeah. Well,
Sorry.
no, we'll see. We'll see what does happen because at the top of this festering pile of filth, we have the lovely Uncle Nige. And as I mentioned to you before, apparently Uncle Nige was a little bit economical with the actuality when it came to reporting gifts from billionaires. And the £5 million gift from the Thailand-based cryptocurrency investor Christopher Harborn should have been disclosed to parliamentary standards because any gifts given in the 12 months before becoming an MP have to be declared. And it wasn't. But it's gone, it's moving around the houses. This is the movable feast of gifts. So it was for his personal security until people started pointing out. But Uncle Nige, you said you couldn't hold any of your surgeries in Clacton, your constituency, because security. So 5 million doesn't buy enough. So no, it's not. It's not apparently that it's not. Whoever said that, Uncle Nige, that's not what it was. It was a reward for doing such a good job of basically enforcing economic sanctions on ourselves by leaving the European Union. So nobody's got a clue, but that's okay. It's where it should be. The Parliamentary Commissioner for Standards has now opened a formal investigation into Uncle Nige over this gift, and we will see what happens. It's exhausting. If talking of consequences, if the investigation does find a serious breach, then Uncle Nige could be suspended from the House of Commons, and a suspension of 10 days or more triggers a recall petition and could force a by-election in Clacton. So Clacton, it's not all lost. You might get an actual MP. So we've covered the donation before. Don't need to go back into that murky pool. But you know, we love receipts here. And the receipts are now being checked by the people who've got the authority to check them and dish out appropriate punishments. And finally, for me, that brings me to Labour. And I want to be careful here because I actually want this government to succeed. I think all of us want all of our governments to succeed, whatever flavour they are, because we're the ones that suffer when they don't. But I've changed my political outlook as I've grown up and grown wiser, hopefully, and grown more compassionate. And I like what I see in Starmer. I find the karma with Starmer to be true. It's nice not having to worry about what fresh hell we're waking up to. Um, I'm not sure if you guys in America can remember what that's like, but if you can, it's nice. It's nice that the guy running your country isn't hiding in fridges or having his 27th random baby that he doesn't claim. Boris. Sorry, the wound is still quite raw. Anyway, so I like having grown-ups in the room. I genuinely believe that matters. But we've seen a bit of disruption this week. Jess Phillips has resigned from her ministerial role. She said she wasn't seeing the changes she thinks the country expects, and she couldn't continue to serve. And that puts me in a really awkward position because I really respect Jess Phillips, especially all the work she's done over many, many, many years for the protection of women and girls. So she's got to do what she thinks is right. Then there's Angela Rayner, and she's also calling for change. Thankfully, and it was really drowned out by somebody I will come to in just a moment, who didn't even make my list because he's only decided to play toddler today. And I wrote this yesterday. Angela Rayner was under investigation for tax declarations and not declaring tax on a property properly. And she's been scrutinised, it's been through the parliamentary standards, and she's been cleared. And because that's been missed by the mainstream media because of other things going on over here today, I want just to say it. Angela Rayner has been completely exonerated of any wrongdoing. Angela Rayner, who was forced to resign her position as Deputy Prime Minister because of these allegations, has been found to have done nothing wrong. I have a lot of respect for her. Also, she is a real champion of working class Brits. She really has pulled herself up by her bootstraps and made a success of a difficult early start. So I have a lot of respect for her. We will see. We will see. Andy Burnham, he is a very popular Labour character. He is mayor of Manchester. I don't know, but he's very popular. He's a very popular mayor. He's very popular on a certain side of the Labour Party. And everybody, anytime there's any suggestion of a threat to the leadership, Andy Burnham, Andy Burnham, Andy Burnham. The thing is, the way the rules work in the UK is that you cannot even run for leader of the party if you're not an MP. And as a mayor, he's not an MP. So now it's all going to hell because somebody local to Andy Burnham, whose name I just glazed over, has said they will resign their seat so that Andy Burnham can have their seat, take their MP spot. But that's not how it works. You don't just say, oh, you have it, mate. You know, there are things called elections, public votes, the right to choose. So, yeah, people are a little bit, we hear you, Andy Burnham, and we think you're a good egg and all, and, quite charismatic, but isn't that just a bit of a slap in the face for all the people who A, voted for you for mayor and B, voted for this other chap to be their MP? So, and then we have Little Wes. Now, I'm very confused about Little Wes Streeting, our former, as of today, health secretary. Because unlike the US health secretary, he's quite a smart little chap. He knows his onions. He's not been very popular as a retired NHS worker. We were not fans of him getting cozy with Palantir. And I don't need to tell Americans about Palantir. I don't know how big a thing they are in Canada right now, but their little tentacles seem to be reaching out all across the globe. So, yeah, there has been some concern with how cozy Mr. Streeting has been with Palantir. So, we NHS and former NHS workers are not crying over him resigning, but we're like, for fuck's sake, Wes, poor Ange has been under this cloud for months as to did she pay the right amount of tax. The day it's announced, your lackeys leak the fact that you're resigning. Fucking read the room, man. Anyway, we will come back to this, and there will be others. But as of this point, nobody has made a challenge for the leadership, and Keir Starmer is saying business as usual. And we've already got a new health secretary in post who apparently is a solid lad. You know, he's sensible, educated, get down to business. I've not heard of him. I don't recognize the name, so I can't tell you. And literally, I only saw it just before we came on air, so I don't even remember what his name is. But anyway, that's pretty much where we are. And that's the UK in a nutshell. There are still grown-ups around, but the kids are misbehaving royally, and somebody needs to put them on the naughty step, and we will be in due course. So, Summer, my love, what's happening your side? Now, can I just say, this is such a beautiful piece of writing that I'm going to sit back, grab my fizzy pop, and hand you over to Summer, because you don't need me.
Okay, but you do, just for 1 second, because you said the word snogging, and thank goodness somebody in the chat, when I was in the chat with y'all, you actually said what it was, because in my, Canadian brain, and I'm sitting here for the life of me, I've got a very literal space up here, and it's, wired a very specific way, and I'm trying to figure out how snogging and the conversation of viruses have anything to do. I thought snogging had to have been some kind of tobogganing or some kind of sledding or some kind of sport. As it turns out, it was some kind of sport.
Yes.
But not what my brain was thinking. So for the person who was kind enough to actually look up the term and put it in the chat, I really appreciate you, because I am wired that way. I am literal, and if I don't get it...
It might have been Gordon. I don't want to give credit where credit's not due.
I think Gordon's name is what's coming to me, but I didn't want to say it if I was wrong. But it was some kind of sport. It was not the kind of sport that I had in my head, though. Okay. So then it all kind of made sense, like all of the stars aligned for me, and anyhow. I digress, but I just had to say that because I often giggle aloud at your terminology.
It wasn't Gordon. Somebody else was busy doing the research for us. But yes, snogging, for anyone who doesn't speak UK English, because apparently we don't all speak the same brand of English, is a passionate kissing, probably with tongues. So not the kind of thing you want to do with somebody who's got a virus.
No,
and that's coming from my medical professional background. Don't snog people with viruses, okay? However much you love them, just wait till they're better.
All right. I guess it's about time I said good evening to the Mama Midnight Cafe crowd. And hello from Canada. I think I just said hello from Canada in some weird way. Okay, but in Canada, it's sort of where politics usually are delivered with a side of politeness, a large coffee, and the emotional range of someone trying not to honk in traffic. This week, Canadian politics had that very Canadian flavor. Serious global positioning, economic anxiety, housing, defense, trade, Arctic sovereignty, and just enough Prime Minister Mark Carney to make everyone remember that, yes, we did elect a central banker. And yes, he does sometimes sound like he's explaining monetary policy to a room full of nervous furniture. But to be fair, Canada is in a strange moment. We are watching the world get louder, more unstable, more transactional, while trying to decide whether our national strategy is build things, protect things, apologize to things, or all three at once.
Can I just
This
interrupt you briefly? I was talking to not Luma, and I was saying about how I'd upset you by referring to this as a thesis. And she said, "Oh no, Summer was upset." And I said, "No, of course she wasn't upset. She's Canadian."
it's true. I wasn't upset. My concern, of course, was that a thesis is something I just wrote in my master's, and it was very long and not very interesting. So
When
I was really hoping.
I meant well-rounded and thoroughly researched, but that didn't come across. So, you have to listen to what people
Listen.
say. Take the feedback.
Okay, so you know that does say a lot about communication, and I'm not going to go down that road. Now I'll start sounding like a thesis if I do that. I have to stick with my notes, Mama. You shouldn't do
Okay.
that to me.
I'll stop interrupting.
Okay, so this week, Carney's message was basically the old world order is not working, the new one has not arrived, and Canada should probably stop standing in the doorway holding a casserole asking if everyone is okay. Prime Minister Carney has been leaning hard into what I would call Canada's a serious middle power lane.
Mm.
Yeah, this week the government highlighted major files, meetings with international leaders, Canada's first defense industrial strategy, a new automotive strategy, the Canadian Economy Act, and new measures around defending and transforming Canada's North and Arctic region. Now, we will get to that in a bit. That is a lot of nation-building language for 1 week. It is the political equivalent of opening your junk drawer and deciding, well, today we are going to become a hardware store. The Arctic piece does matter. Canada's North is not just a beautiful place on a postcard or where Americans imagine we all live with sled dogs and suspiciously good cheekbones.
Do you not?
Well, after what my idea of what slogging was, you might think we do.
Yeah.
Put that out there. Sometimes you might get that impression, of course, because we give it to you.
Yes.
Other times it's just a really easy way to not really see anything beyond the map. I don't know if anyone has ever noticed that when you look at a U.S. map when you're in the United States, and many of the states, and they show their map, like their weather map, any kind of map. Canada's just sort of blocked out. Like there's nothing there. It's like nothing exists beyond the United States. True. Whereas here, we see the weather systems as they travel across, the globe. So we understand that there is a United States, a Mexico, there's like a whole bunch of places apparently in the world.
Shh, don't tell the Americans. Sorry, Americans.
I really do apologize because we do have kind of a tilted panel today because we don't have the American version kind of holding us down.
Yes. Red light,
we're
Laura,
misbehaving.
Red light.
We're misbehaving. We need the red light tonight, Mama.
Can you believe that? We need Laura back to keep us under control. Oh, what fresh hell is this?
Okay, so you might think that we are that, but this is actually a strategic thing. It is defense, it is sovereignty, it is climate, it is infrastructure. And increasingly, it is where global competition is going to show up wearing a parka and pretending it just came for the scenery. Probably have a Tim Hortons coffee in their hand, too.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be suspicious in the middle of the Arctic. I might pick up on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So when Carney talks about defending and transforming the North, that is Canada saying, yes, we are polite. No, that does not mean you can wander into our backyard with a submarine and good vibes and think you're going to be welcome.
Mm-mm.
No. At the Global Progress Action Summit in Toronto, he talked about affordability, immigration, artificial intelligence, and the way anxiety feeds what he called a politics of grievance. He argued that governments cannot answer this moment by being timid or nostalgic. They have to build what comes next. Now, as a Canadian, I appreciate the ambition. I also want to gently point out that Build What Comes Next is inspiring, but we are still a country where it can take 3 committees, 2 environmental assessments, a provincial argument, a federal provincial working group, and a raccoon and a hard hat to approve a bridge. So yes, build, please, but perhaps also locate the shovel. Carney's foreign policy posture has been very clear. Canada is trying to position itself as a stable democratic partner in a world where the United States is no longer always playing the same role it once did. We'll just say it that way. I'm abiding by the red light, Amy. You don't need to put it in the chat. At the European Political Community Summit in Armenia, Carney said, "The world does not have to submit to a more transactional and insular world." He suggested the international order may be rebuilt out of Europe. The subtext is pretty obvious. I'm not actually sure that's subtext.
No.
I'm not sure that's subtext at all. I'm sorry to the United States.
Oh, bless.
Canada's
Ellen's voting for the raccoon.
Wait, Ellen, the raccoon plays a couple of roles tonight. Okay?
Oh, yeah. Ellen, if you like the raccoon.
Stand by, Ellen.
Hold tight.
Stand by. Sorry. So, yeah, it's not just subtext. Canada is looking at the United States under President Donald Trump and saying, we still love our neighbors. And I do very much love our neighbors. But perhaps we should also make other friends, keep receipts, and stop assuming Uncle Sam is definitely picking us up from the airport. In plain Canadian, we are not breaking up with America. We are just updating our emergency contact list.
Fair.
Yeah, I think it's beyond fair at this point. I think we've been pretty docile in our response compared to what I would expect the United States would respond if someone called them their, I don't know, 14th province, 13th province, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, domestically, Carney's message is still centered on affordability, housing, economic security, and building capacity. Those
all
are
the fun stuff.
Yeah, those are the things that Canadians and most people in the United States as well, from what I can see on the news, are worried about and are dealing with the ramifications of it having been bad policy for a very long time, regardless of what government is in charge of your local, federal, provincial, and state. Sorry, I was trying to think of the U.S. word for provincial, state governments. I mean, it's a mess. Let's just say it
Gordon suggests referring to America as your bitch. That'd go down well. Gordon, I don't think you need the flag next to your name. I think we guessed. Oh, we've got comedians in the chat today.
That's good. You know what? Laughter, if anyone listened to my piece on humor, well-paced laughter, very important. Very important, and it's very important that we give that to each other in respectful, amazing ways.
Tamara wants to be your bitch. Oh, you guys, stop it.
You guys you're killing me.
We'll still be here at midnight Eastern time.
My eyes are tearing up.
Yeah.
Okay. The problem is people don't become angry in a vacuum. As we can tell, this is where the humor comes from, why it lands, why somebody in the United States might be okay being Canada's bitch.
Exactly.
That did not happen in a vacuum, and it didn't happen overnight. I think it was Tamara J that said in the comments that was 440 days of exhaustion, and I know where that number comes from, but I'm going to challenge that and times it by 10. Because even when Joe Biden was in the presidency for those 4 years, it was nothing but Trump and 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 Trump. And oh my God, Biden did so many things. And all we got to hear about and see on TV was the loudmouth criminal himself. And I say that because he was, in fact, convicted. So, there's that. It didn't happen in a vacuum, and it didn't just happen in the last 440 days. Okay. We become angry when we feel that we've lost control over housing, wages, services, safety, identity, or the future.
It's
Canadians,
Maslow's triangle, isn't it? We've got to
it's
sort
hierarchy
that.
of needs. It
Yeah.
is the hierarchy of needs. And the problem with the hierarchy of needs is it's essentially the only people who have them met, or if you turn the triangle upside down and look at the economic value of people's bank accounts, it's the people at the very tip who actually have those needs met, and everyone else increasingly doesn't.
Yeah.
So if you were at the bottom of that economic base, the hard workers, the people that make them billionaires, by the way, if you were those people, you're really messed up now. And the
Yeah.
anger is real. But where you get your news from tells you where to focus that rage on. And that's
Oh
how
gosh,
MAGA was
yeah.
born. And that's how MAGA was born. And I don't really want to go down that road right now because I could go down that road.
No, but
But
you're right to, I think, to acknowledge there were legitimate, genuine concerns that were fed a diet of lies.
without any doubt, I mean, I'm in Canada watching, you're in the UK watching. I could see them being fed the lies. I could see the impact it was having, and it was having different impacts on different spaces. I wonder who might control media in those places. And now, what concerns me even more, and I'm way off script now, sorry,
It's okay.
is that there are increasing encroachments on freedom of the press. And this is why I'm so thankful for Mama and for Glenn and for a lot of other folks out there working every day trying to make this happen. I'm very happy to bring the Canadian perspective anytime you wish, Mama.
We are
But
very happy to have it.
but this is, part of why we're here doing this right now, and thankfully why I've got to meet some of those amazing people that I could have ever met. And yes, my neighbors from the United States, I absolutely include you in those people. Always have. I have traveled extensively through the United States, and I have not really run into a bad person. So I don't know if I'm just going to all the good places. I don't think so, because I like to go to all the places, but the people are good.
Yes,
What's
they
going
are.
on right now? What's going on right now is ugly. So I stand with the people. That's how I've always been. That's how I'm always going to be.
Exactly.
So we are just taking our emergency contacts back. That's for sure. None of this happened in a vacuum. In Canada, we are not short on analysis.
Mm.
We have an analysis stacked in the basement beside the winter tires. What we need is delivery. And
Yeah.
that is, I believe, what all of us are here. That is our common thread as
Yeah.
people from all of the countries I've talked to so far, is we need the delivery. We've got the analysis, okay? We've hired people that are supposed to be competent, at least in Canada, I feel that we have.
Yes.
But I want to see the delivery.
Oh, I
Okay,
love that.
housing.
Did you see that Neuros called us Americans emotional support Canadians and Brits, like emotional support pets? I want to be someone's emotional support pet. You can stroke me whenever you're feeling a little bit stressed. I'm not proud.
That is good. That is good. So for most people, housing is the obvious one. Are we building homes, or are we building press releases with windows? Right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, so the Carney government's challenge is this: make policy feel real at the kitchen table, or as we say in Canada, less Davos, more driveway.
Amen.
Right? So you've said you're competent, that you understand. Now make it happen.
Yep.
Right? There's a whole lot of movie lines that just went through my head, and I went through all of them almost instantaneously. It's like a computer. It's a very strange computer, but it's like a computer up there. And I couldn't say one of them out loud.
The ticker tape was running too fast.
No. I could have said them all out loud, but none of them were appropriate. Okay.
Oh,
On the opposite side, the Conservatives are biding their time.
yes, they do.
Yeah, they do. They instigate, and they try to rile up, and they don't allow someone the opportunity to put all the pieces in place and then execute. and then they stand in the way of the execution, is what we've seen many, many times. And I'm sure that's not just Canada. I know for sure it's absolutely the United States. And I can't imagine, Mama, that it's a whole lot different from what you've explained so far in the UK. Okay, so we have the Conservatives biding their time.
Yeah.
And in the end, their argument will likely be, you have a prime minister who can explain the global economy, but can he fix your grocery bill? That is a strong line of attack, because in politics, being smart is helpful. But being smart while people are broke can make you sound like the professor who explains why the boat is sinking instead of giving out life jackets. So
Yeah.
Carney had better be listening.
Stock up
Make
on
it
the
happen.
life jackets.
Yeah, you better be getting the life jackets out there now, because you've got a limited window to get them out there. You are
Absolutely.
there's going to be absolutely no appetite whatsoever for this. Well, I've only had this much time. Give me this much more. Justin Trudeau wrecked that for you. I'm very sorry, sir.
I think Starmer's feeling that over here.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a little bit of truth to perhaps hiding behind that excuse, but get the shovels digging. That's all I
Yeah.
can say.
Exactly.
And now we cross the border. I don't touch on Trump much, but I have to touch on him a little, because on behalf of my sister, my salty sister, Miss Laura Not Loomer, we jointly might have nominated somebody with that name later.
Mm-hmm.
So President Donald Trump had another week that felt less like governance and more like someone shook a snow globe full of subpoenas, tariffs, fighter jets, and social media posts. Not a good snow globe. He traveled to Beijing for high-stakes talks with Xi. Red carpet, fanfare, major geopolitical implications. Is this diplomacy, trade policy, or the season finale of The Apprentice geopolitical edition? I'm not going to get too much into that.
It's all for show.
Trump also remarked that he does not think about Americans' financial situation when he asked about the cost of the Iran war. And with it, I don't laugh at that. There's nothing funny about that.
No,
That
there
is
isn't.
disgusting. That is
Yeah.
absolutely disgusting. When he
We are
doesn't
so
think
sorry.
about his own people, when he makes decisions about the country that his people live in, the reason he's talking about a ballroom for billions, like, geez Louise, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So we'll just move on. Sometimes Washington is a lighthouse. Sometimes it is a fog machine with a campaign hat. So Canada has to diversify. We need to be friendly with the elephant next door, but we should not build our entire house out of elephant mood swings.
No.
Meanwhile, in the United Kingdom, I'm going to let Mama do that. But I would like to say this carefully as a Canadian. It's very easy to look at American politics and say, oh my goodness, what are they going to do down there? Canadians should not get smug. We have our own affordability crisis, our own housing failures, our own regional divides, our own institutional blind spots, our own anger, our own people who feel abandoned by systems that were supposed to serve them. The difference is often style, not substance.
Yeah.
Canada's danger is not usually theatrical collapse. Canada's danger is slow erosion wrapped in polite language. We don't always explode. Sometimes we defer, study, consult, delay, and then discover 10 years later that the bridge still is not built. The homes still are not affordable. The North still needs infrastructure, and everyone has been very respectful about achieving almost nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Democracy does not survive on speeches alone. It survives when people can live, work, eat, rent, buy, build, disagree, vote, and believe the future is not being auctioned off to the loudest bidder, or perhaps the one most closely linked to the politician who's doing the bidding. So this week, from a Canadian perspective, Here's the summary. Carney is trying to position. Oh, sorry. I apologize. Carney is trying to position Canada as a serious middle power in a world where the old alliances still matter, but can no longer be taken for granted. The UK is having a leadership crisis with excellent grammar. Trump is in China. The Iran conflict is still shaking global politics, and his social media account appears to have achieved sentience.
Did you
And
hear?
Canada,
Apparently, it's a staffer. It's a staffer doing all the midnight Trump posts. It's an
yes,
executive assistant. I just heard that in the
I
last
don't
hour or
want to
so.
know what kind of assistant. Let's just keep moving.
Yeah, okay.
There's an emoji for that.
For a reason. It was designed with
Yes,
me in
I
mind.
should be doing this because I don't want to visualize any of it.
Oh no, now we all can't unsee that.
I know. Well, that was in my head. Okay.
Well, thanks for sharing.
Canada, as usual, is standing slightly to the side with a clipboard, a winter coat, and a deeply held belief that it would just form the right working group, civilization may yet be saved.
Amen.
But underneath the humor, the stakes are real. The world is changing. The old order is cracking. People are anxious for good reason. And the leaders who succeed will not be the ones who merely diagnose the crisis. They will be the ones who build something people can actually stand on. And if Canada wants to matter in this next chapter, we cannot just be nice. We have to be useful. Preferably before the raccoon gets back on the Wi-Fi.
Here, here. Wow. Well, grown-ups are nice, but they need to have a little bit of fun. They need to put in the action as well as give the nice speeches. We hear you loud and clear. So, are you ready for a little bit of USA news?
You know I always am.
Is it time to move on from the raccoon? I'm not sure for Ellen. I think Ellen and the raccoon have got a thing now. So we'll just leave them to their thing. So, America, you've been busy, haven't you? It's been a day and a week and a month and it's just been a lot. So where do we start? Where do we start, Laura? Where should we start? I think I know where Laura would start if she were here with us today. So, the FBI, anybody? How's that going? Cash Patel, little Cash Yap, or as I call him, Car Crash. So, did you all see the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee? I sat through it, so you don't have to. Nearly 2.5 hours. I nearly said years there. I apologize. That was a Freudian slip. He was shouting over the senators. He challenged Van Hollen to an alcohol test. He accused him of drinking margaritas with Abrego Garcia and partying on the taxpayers' dime. It was just embarrassing. I didn't know where to look. This was supposed to be a routine budget hearing, not a referendum on whether the nation's top law enforcement officer can hold his shit together. It's scary.
You can't.
And it's beyond embarrassment. It's terrifying. He came in hot. He was ready. He had obviously been studying from the Pam Bondi school of how to deal with congressional committees. It's not a book I would recommend you read, but clearly he studied it well. He brought his placard covered in statistics, and if Laura was here, she had to stop watching, bless her. She would be telling you a thing or two about those statistics. So I hope I will remember to point out the damn lies and statistics of it all. Because they really were creative accounting, let's say.
So no, not creative.
No, not creative at all. It was ridiculous. So one of his boasts was that the FBI had almost doubled its arrest numbers under his tenure, and that they were capturing the 10 most wanted criminals at a record pace. Well, if anybody watched the MS Now coverage the day after and their assessment of how he's managing to achieve these record breaking figures, it all becomes very, very, very clear. Yes, he did, Anne, and I believe I posted it on Substack, but if I did, I will double check that. He tested his audit, the alcohol test, and he posted receipts from the staff dinner that he paid for out of campaign funds, like you're allowed to do. So I think I posted them earlier today. Very calm, very measured, very FBI director energy. I wasn't getting. Not for a second. These statistics, though, as I said, MS Now, they do their homework and they've been discussing it with current and former law enforcement officials. And they basically said these are a sham. They are padding the stats. They're claiming arrests that they would never have claimed previously, according to one FBI official, one current FBI official. So I'll tell you how the magic trick works in case any of you aren't familiar with the FBI sleight of hand. FBI field officers were instructed to count as FBI arrests any suspects who were detained when FBI personnel was simply present, even if local police were making the arrest and an FBI agent was just at the hot dog stand on the corner. Literally that ridiculous. That went on the tally. That's tick one for the FBI.
Can I just say something in just here?
Please.
I was trained as a crime and intelligence analyst, and one of parts of the training is criminal investigative analysis. Long story. That part of that segment of it used to be called profiling, and it was taught to me by FBI trained professionals, FBI agents, essentially.
Yeah.
And I had a world of respect for those people that taught me and for the work that they did and for the training that I got, because it was very high-end criminal investigations from an analytical perspective. And I was very fortunate to have had it. I never, ever believed in my lifetime it would be the FBI director that I would be profiling. I'm sorry. But using the tools that they taught me. Yeah, like think about what's going up in my brain right now. Like, I'm sorry, I'll turn it back over to you right now, but I just had to bring that little piece out because the FBI used to have the best in North America, maybe the world, in terms of reputation.
I'm just going to drop this in there. Put it in the chat if you know, but does anybody know where Car Crash is right now? Because I spotted it before we came on air and I made a note, and I will come back to it later because it's written down on my paper. But if anybody knows where Car Crash is and what he's doing, pop it in the chat because it seriously beggars belief. Gordon, not that quickly. God, build up the tension for fuck's sake, man. Oh, have you not played our game before? No, stop it. Right, Gordon, you're banned. Somebody do the block thing. Gordon's ruining everything. It's all right, Gordon. I'm teasing you. Yes, absolutely.
You got it right.
Pearl Harbor snorkeling. Because, everything's under control with all those great crime stats. Shall I tell you some more about those crime stats? A significant chunk of the numbers have come from immigration raids. They have diverted more than 2,000 FBI agents alongside several more thousand from the DEA, ATF, and US Marshals, and they've redirected them away from violent crime, terrorism, drug trafficking, the little stuff, the stuff that you would have done just, before breakfast, Summer. But yeah, apparently we don't need quite so much hard work there because we've got some stats to massage. It's insane. So sorry, yes, it's unbelievable. The crime stats went up because they changed what counts as a crime statistic while pulling highly trained officials off actual crime. So well done. I hope you all feel safer now. I certainly do. I'm kind of glad I'm not coming to the World Cup. Oh, but can I just say, I'm also boycotting the Eurovision Song Contest now, but we'll come back to that another time because I'm turning into Glenn, risking it anyway. So, yes. And the most wanted list. Now, I'd already heard this last year sometime. I don't know whether I'd heard it in passing or on somebody else's podcast or just as a rumor. But the rumor was that they were capturing the top 10 most wanted by being very creative with who was going on the list. And I may be coming out of my lane ever so slightly, but if you add somebody to the FBI most wanted list in the back of the car on the way to arrest them, isn't that kind of defeating the point of having a most wanted list? Because yeah, I mean, it's like me having a most wanted Christmas present on the way back from Toys R Us. Sorry, I'm showing my age. Do you still all our Toys R Us closed? Did yours? Do you all still have Toys R Us? In the UK, Toys R Us closed. I have sat outside Toys R Us trying to get the must-have Christmas present for the kids at like dark o'clock, waiting for them to open. Insane. No, sorry, not insane, just choices. Let's just call it choices. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, the receipts will be available as usual. If you're a paid subscriber, I will post all the links to where all the information comes from. I particularly liked Senator Patty Murray. I think she's awesome. She put it very plainly. Patel needs to resign or be fired. Full stop. That simple. If we don't say it here, if we can't show it, we don't say it. So, as Summer mentioned, Trump's off doing the China thing, and there's some debate as to whether it was a snub by Xi or progress, because the last time Trump arrived, apparently there was no senior officials there to greet him. But at least somebody in the vague reaches of the higher echelons was there this time. So, oh, the snorkeling trip itself reportedly happened last summer. So he's not in Pearl Harbor doing snorkeling. Well, where is he then, Chris? Where is he? Find him. No, I saw the story as well, Chris, just recently. But he's probably gone back. Sorry, no disrespect, I can't prove that, and I don't know it for certain. So please don't file suit against me, Mr. Patel, my love. You could be anywhere, and you're probably working very, very hard on your FBI homework. So I'm not meaning to cast aspersions. Yes, so Vice President Hang Zheng was there to greet Trump this time. It, it's better than last time. That's all I can say. Faint diplomatic praise. Yes, there were 170 young girls singing to him. Oh, Gordon, stop it. And I have to say, Ben Mycelis, bless you, you do some great reporting, but enough with the rage baity. When you say that the flags that the little girls were waving were mostly Chinese, every single little girl had one Chinese and one American. That's like that's the definition of 50-50. Sorry, I'm digressing again. You do a great job. Ignore me. I get that you need to be a bit clickbaity to get people in to come and listen. So you just crack on. You do you. But what I really would like to focus on, who traveled to China with the esteemed leader? Well, I think we are on the verge of being able to rename Air Force One as Lolita 2. Because the cast and crew of that trip were seriously questionable. And that's as far as I get. We've got Elon Musk. We all know Elon Musk. We've got the Trump offspring. I'm sure they're very nice people, probably in certain circumstances. And then we've got what's his chops. Oh God. The name will come back to me. But seriously, America, we've got a guy who was under investigation for sexual assault in the height of Me Too. You've got Trump, you've got Musk, you've got the boys. Oh, Summer's gone. I'll invite Summer again just in case she didn't mean to go. Send invite. Anyway, and I'll carry on. Yeah, look who was on that plane. I've said it earlier in the week and I will say it again. Seriously, America, please change the locks. We can't help you if you don't help yourself. Just don't let them back in. Okay? So, yes. Oh, well, apparently, Tamara, you're going to love this. What's his name? Let me find his name. Elon Musk, by the way, is currently under a judge's recall order for the OpenAI trial. And apparently he left the country without asking permission because he's Elon fucking Musk, isn't he? Eric and Lara Trump, because if it all goes to hell in a handcart, we can always get Lara to sing to us and then really know what hell is. We've got the big CEOs, Jensen Huang of NVIDIA and Tim Apple, who you may know as Tim Cook of Apple. But even in reference to this latest trip, Trump is still referring to him as Tim Apple. And then, of course, Brett Ratner. That was the name my brain refused to remember. And I appreciate you, brain. Thank you for protecting me. Accused of sexual misconduct by numerous women, denied it. What's he done since 2017? Oh, that's right. The Melania documentary. Have we all seen it? Hands up in the chat, everyone who's seen the Melania documentary. And it doesn't count if you were watching it for research purposes. I just want everyone who has thought, oh, that looks good, I'll go and see that. Everybody who did that, hands up in the chat, please. I can't put my hand up because, sorry, there are lines that even I draw when it comes to research. And the Melania movie is way the other side of it. Please change the locks. There's still time. I don't think they're back yet. Are they back yet? Change the locks. Good. Yeah. No. Oh, that's weird. Apparently, it doesn't appear to have been that popular in the chat because if you listen to MAGA, people were seeing it 2 and 3 and 4 times. I know, right? Oh, Laura, it said unavailable. I have got no idea what mine said because I didn't even fucking look. That's how little I care.
Is that Melania the movie is unavailable or Melania Trump is unavailable? Is this a relationship status?
Yeah, status? It's complicated.
It's complicated. I think might be right on the nose.
Oh, dear. Yeah, you know, you somebody put in reply to one of the social media posts I put about changing the locks. You've got it's better than a 2-for-1. You've got everybody you don't want back in the United States on that plane. Yeah.
Small window.
Yeah. Change those locks, please. Please, guys, please. Anyway, now for a serious moment because it's important. Let's just check the time. I can go on as long as I like, can't I? Because I am basically Glenn tonight, but I won't because you'll get bored. Shoot down the plane. But we mean that metaphorically, don't we, Gordon? Because we don't condone violence and we don't condone violent rhetoric because that's how crazy people get tackled by the FBI who then shoot each other and then it all goes horribly wrong. So, yeah, needs more than a couple of luxury jets. Yes, metaphorical, exactly. So, something else very important has been happening this week. And while I haven't, and won't cover the Epstein files in the kind of detail that far more capable people than I have been doing, because I know my lane, and the only reason I would be doing it would be for views, and I refuse to use survivors of assault to boost my views. So it's not a subject I can add any value to, but I can highlight what happened down in Palm Beach. So the House Democrats took the Epstein investigation to Trump's doorstep, literally, holding a field hearing with the survivors near Mar-a-Lago, just down the road from Jeffrey Epstein's former Palm Beach home, where these women and girls were abused. The Democrats referred to it as a new phase of the investigation, and they published a report detailing how Epstein built a global trafficking network after the sweetheart deal from Alex Acosta in 2008. And if you haven't heard Rosa give her testimony in this field hearing, Rosa, who was from Uzbekistan, I believe, and she was trafficked when he was on house arrest. Had Alex Acosta done his job, people like Rosa would not have endured the torture that they did endure. And I'll go further. Were it not for Pam fucking Bondi and her idiot team of creatures, Rosa would not have given her information under the anonymity of Jane Doe and then one morning woken up to find her name all over the unredacted portions of the Epstein files hundreds and hundreds of times.
That should never happen.
It
I
should,
shouldn't have
oh,
to say that out loud, but I was a detective and I'm sorry. That is just, you're fired. Like,
it's sickening. I was crying when I was listening to her, especially the other ladies. It's horrible. I've heard them speak before. It wasn't as shocking because I knew their stories. But Rosa, oh, when she said that part to the Democrats about having been anonymous and then waking up one morning and finding she very much wasn't anymore, I can't imagine. I cannot imagine. And some of the others, they talked about people who nobody knew, and then suddenly partners, children, parents, siblings, teachers in their kids' school, neighbors, everybody now knew the most horrific thing that had ever happened to these women. And nobody can ever make that right. It was a really hard watch, and I'm really glad that I sat through it. And also, I listening to Sky Roberts and his wife talk in honor of the late Virginia Giuffre always moves me, and it breaks my heart that that woman's courage didn't see results in her lifetime. And we honor you, Virginia. Without you, I don't think we'd be where we are. We've got a long, 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 long way to go. But you've made something possible.
Yeah, there are billions of people around the world watching and following this story, in large part because of her contributions.
Absolutely. If you haven't read her book, it's hard, but wow. It's very hard to listen to and not believe her to be entirely credible. It's I recommend if you can, if it's not traumatic or triggering for you, read Virginia's book. It's quite incredible. It really is. Anyway, I just want to say that if you did not you, because you're all good people, but if anybody listening to this did not sit through that entire hearing and did not listen to every single word from those brave survivors and family members, then you no longer get to have an opinion on this subject, as far as I'm concerned. Those women made it clear. If you were ever in any doubt, if you could listen to any single one of them that gave evidence at this field hearing and think, I'm not sure. Do they sound believable? If you can think that, please do us all a favor and take yourself out because we're not going to see eye to eye on anything. If you cannot trust what those women were saying as being entirely credible, then this is not the space for you. You will not be happy here. You will not enjoy our commentary. Sorry,
So
Summer.
one of the things that I have to bring up because I'm a little bit of a geek, I suppose,
Mm.
but it's not geekish at all. It's human, and that's why I insist. If you look at how our systems were constructed in under colonial value systems, our system was actually is constructed to protect itself and those who are powerful who designed it. This case is that representation, and the number of times these women keep being asked to testify, every time Congress doesn't make the administration do what it's supposed to do, every single time the answer is to get them. I think Melania was the last one who said, well, get them to testify, let them tell their story, let them testify, because there's only so much a human being can take after all of that trauma. And
Oh,
I gotta be honest with you. I've testified so many times in court, and it is exhausting. And it's not about me. It's not about what I've had to deal with. I cannot even imagine what these women, the fight that they have been fighting, and that I believe we need to really kick our systems, as it were, in 3 different countries in the ass, because we need to be supporting these women. We need to be supporting them. We need to start listening. It's the only way we get to protect the next generations coming up from the same thing keep happening over and over again. I'm out. I'm sorry, Mom, I had to.
here, here. No. Listen to Rosa. Listen to the position she was put in because uh, the justice system didn't do its job. Listen to Sky Roberts. Listen to the trauma that his sister had to go through, that he had to watch. Listen to Annie Farmer. Look at her giving her video testimony, sick as God knows what because of the trauma that she's endured. And then tell me that these are the people that need to start naming names. They have done the stuff. They have given their testimonies. They did what they were supposed to do. It's not on them now. Fuck's sake, sort it out. And yes, Tamara, it should never have been on them. Well said. One
Yeah.
thing I did appreciate was the Democrats on the panel were very clear at sending a warning message to Trump against pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm not going to say any more about her. That woman is she's not where she needs to be.
No,
She's in Club Fed. She needs to be locked away, serving her time the way that any other person who had done the things she did and was convicted for is having to. I am so in awe of the courage of these women. And then there's Trump refusing to rule out a pardon.
One other woman is Eugene Carroll. I'm sorry, Eugene's Carroll. Uh,
Yes.
yes.
I have something on E. Jean Carroll for my I'm Not Glenn, Can You Spot the Difference show a little bit later on. So come back if you want to hear the latest on the E. Jean Carroll situation, because I know Glenn would bring it up. Anyway, so one more thing after, I mean, because that was quite heavy, but it would be very remiss of us not to mention the behavior of the Supreme Court of the United States this week, because apparently dismantling democracy needed a new chapter, and they gave it to us. So, what the Supreme Court, I think I've set it for, I don't fucking know, 1:30 my time. So that's 8:30
8:30.
Eastern. Yeah. So I better crack on because otherwise I'll just be switching off and switching back on again. But it's only a short one, just a little couple of things that have been happening on the legal front so that Glenn doesn't fall too far behind and maybe has a rest while he's away. So, yes, what have the Supreme Court done? Well, I think we're all aware of it, but just to recap, they've basically struck down majority minority House districts as unconstitutional racial gerrymanders, which Democrats say is basically returning the nation to Jim Crow era policies of the 50s and 60s, and I cannot disagree. Those were the times when black citizens voted in far lower rates because they couldn't, because of the restrictions like the poll taxes and the literacy tests and counting jelly beans in a jar and other ridiculousness. Within days of this Supreme Court ruling, Alabama, Louisiana, Tennessee already racing to redraw their maps. Tennessee moved to eliminate the state's only majority black district in Memphis, a move that could leave the entire state with an all Republican congressional delegation. And that's just not representative. That's what the job is, to represent the people. Republicans have obviously hailed this decision as political victory and have immediately called on all GOP state legislatures to redraw congressional maps, which they're busying themselves doing. And the Democrats fear that it could hand Republicans as many as 19 new House seats. Let me be clear about what this is. This is not a technicality. This is not a redistricting quirk. This is the Supreme Court of the United States of America telling black voters in the South, your representation is a problem. We've decided to fix it by removing it. Jim Crow did not leave. He just went to law school. And these are the results. And on that note, who wants a bit of levity before we call it a day? We need some. So, Mount Mama! Is everybody ready? Everybody ready? Mount Mama
Don't
is
worry.
back.
I just want to qualify something here. I know we're very sensitive about, harming these politicians' reputations because, we could harm them more than they do themselves.
Yeah.
No volcanoes. No volcanoes were actually harmed in the making of this
No
segment.
volcano. Very, very safe volcano. I look after it very carefully in between. So, not a real volcano. I know. Look at. I did all this myself. All with things I found around. These are things from my first aid kit, and these are some Amazon packaging there because we've all got some of that lying around. But it's not actually a real volcano. Look, you can see straight through. Hello, can you see me? Yeah, not an actual volcano. It's a metaphor. Okay, it's like an unofficial naughty step. And the people that are going in the volcano, you will think, oh my goodness, they're incredibly lifelike when you see them. but they're not actual people. They are inspired by the behavior of actual people. You will see by the fact that they have different names that they're not the actual people. Nobody's being harmed. We are not condoning political violence or violent rhetoric. This is satire. All figures depicted are fictional representations for comedic purposes because God knows we need a laugh. And we are trained professionals. Do not try this at home. If you happen to be standing next to a volcano, do not push your enemies inside. It's not the same. You will not be able to get them back out again if they redeem themselves, okay? So leave it to the professionals. All right. Naughty step. That's how you need to imagine Mount Mama. Once you've calmed yourself down, you can come back out again. Unfortunately, people just keep popping themselves back in there. So, you've got the chance. You're making the choices. Who've we got first, Miss Summer?
Well, I don't really want to make too much of a bone about it, but Polly Want Cracker is my independent vote. I personally told Mama the story of what every time I think of this particular individual, I think of Aladdin way back when it was still VHS time. Yes, I know, in VHS land for any of you
Wow.
as old as me. When Aladdin was out, and every time Jafar shoves a cracker in the bird's mouth, I think Polly Want a Cracker, and that's how this nickname came to be.
So, opposition leader Pierre Poliver in Mount Mama until you can behave yourself. Anybody else from you, as if I didn't know?
Well, it's actually, this is a joint submission from myself and the United States of America, and I'm going to say this as a whole, but our representative, of course, is Miss Laura, not Loomer, and DJ Twat is next up.
And I don't think he probably needs any further explanation. Bye-bye, Donnie, till you can behave yourself.
No, but it kind of does explain his tan.
Yeah. It's because he's spending too much time inside an active volcano. Next, we have another one for Miss Not Lumina. I think we've already made the case for Mr. Car Crash. I mean, he lived up to his name, absolutely crashing out in Congress this week. In there till you can behave yourself, whether you're snorkeling or not, you're in the volcano. And then this one is on behalf of Neurodivergent Hodgepodge. This is their recommendation. We've had Steve Ferratu go in, and this week we've got the bride of Steve Ferratu. And if I can very quickly do the thing, share screen, right? Allow to share screen. Share entire screen. Don't you love the way that I talk you all through this? Photos. Now, there are many reasons why we could put Katie Miller inside Mount Mama, but this one particularly hit me. Peak feminism is having babies. Katie Miller faces backlash for Mother's Day wish, asking women to embrace biological destiny. How fucking dare you? In the volcano until you can be a little bit more inclusive and a little bit more respectful. Where do I stop sharing? Sorry, I'm back. Are you all still with me? And then the last one, I kind of hinted on this. It's not just one person. It's all the opportunistic weasels in the Labour Party, because you're just doing my fucking head in. Let the man govern for a bit. And I know it's such a cute little weasel. It's not actual weasels because they're adorable. Look at that. No actual weasels are going into Mount Mama, just the opportunistic ones. So
Nor
here we
raccoons
go.
with
Yes.
Spotify.
Yeah, she's about to get a podcast on Paramount. I'm sure that's just coincidental and nothing to do with the Allisons. I'm sure they just want all the best staff on their many, 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 many channels that they will own if they get their way. So that brings us towards the end. Everybody's safely tucked away out of harm's way. And by out of harm's way, I mean so they can't harm us anymore. Just for a week. They can come out if they behave themselves by next weekend. I'm sorry, by next Thursday. I don't see it happening myself, but we believe in redemption here. So for anybody for whom prayer and reflection is not your thing, that brings us to the end of tonight's show, and we wish you well and send you on your way with love. Anybody who would like to stay, we will move on to a poem for this week's moment of reflection. If anybody out there liked our show, please do the things, do the likes, the shares, the subscribes, recommend us to a friend. If you absolutely hated us, then recommend us to an enemy. We're not proud. We'll take anything for the stats, because stats are real numbers, or maybe they're not. So everyone who's staying for a couple more minutes, please get into a comfortable place, connect with whatever power works in your life, whether it's a spiritual guide, a higher power, or anything else, and just take a moment. And tonight, Laura Not Luma has requested the closing poem, which is Max Ehrmann's 1927 poem, The Desiderata. If you're ready, I shall begin. Go placidly amid the noise and the haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexatious to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself. Especially do not feign affection, neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune, but do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars, and you have a right to be here. Whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be. And whatever your labours and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful. Strive to be happy. And we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Beautiful, Mama.
Well, thank you, Laura. Thank you for that. We better close quickly because I need to start up as Glenn in about 5 seconds. So thank you, everyone, for being here. I will be back on Monday, where I'm going to have a look at the runners and riders for the position of Attorney General and what's going on in the Department of Justice. And I will be back in like 5 seconds to give you some legal stories for the day, whether Glenn wants me to or not, because, we didn't ask him, we just decided. So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, Summer.
Thank you,
Thank you all.
Mama.
Thank you all for being here. This is Summer. I have been Mama. Did you see how that rhymes? I don't know. Anyway, sorry, I digress. You see, I can't stay focused. I very much look forward to the next time we meet. But for tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid the cafe is now closed.